Breaking news, one-niner. This is Irnieracing, guys. Just in, The View hosts, you know, a bunch of these propaganda Karens, if you don't know what The View is. I'm sure you've heard of the View Karens and seen some of the propaganda. They're stunned after Dr. Phil says COVID lockdowns were pointless for children and the damage they caused are way worse than the COVID itself. Oh, shit. Am I going to get a strike for that, saying that? No, I should be okay because we're talking about the lockdowns, not the V's. So, quote, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them with those molesters. So this is Rob, the Rob Primo. Rob is one of the best freedom fighters I know. He's just nonstop gathering news and posting it on his Instagram. So make sure you follow at the Rob Primo. And he says Dr. Phil has been bringing the heat big time to these platforms of government slave workers like The View. And the comments, guys, are hilarious. We'll read a few and then we'll watch the video because I know you guys are... Why was he even on that show? These women are complete jokes. And the Rob says they are the worst. They are terrible human beings, but look into the big picture. He's tapped into an audience that needs to hear this stuff, not an echo chamber people who already know everything. Next, his interview with Rogan was great too. Dr. Phil is speaking truths. He is starting his own media channel with 4 hours of unbiased news a day. Well, we'll hear about unbiased. Everyone has a little bit of bias, of course, right? So, but as long as he's focusing on most of the truth through his bias, and then you can gather all the information you want. So he said someone has to start telling the truth, and I'm here for it. No kids died. Kids died after getting the blank. The View is a virus. The View of the 5 Karens. Oh, that should be the title. The View of the 5 Karens. The View hosts are completely indoctrinated and oblivious to reality. Complete disgrace. Good job, Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil makes it sound like kids are more at risk of abuse at home than in state schools, which is plainly not the case. And a reply to that is, yes, it is. Oh, my sweet summer child, forgetting your high school days. His Rogan podcast was good and has southern border coverage. I for sure thought he was one of the lefties, but he seems to have had enough and is talking truth. Next, The View is a propaganda machine. That's all. Really glad Dr. Phil isn't compromised by media, though. Next, I'm pretty sure he was laying around eating bonbons. I'm pretty sure she was laying around. Next, The View is just as bad as listening to JT talk. Cancel The View. Next, maybe your staff should educate themselves better at The View. Still acting like this was some deadly crisis for kids. Go run the numbers and see how many died worldwide. While making up deaths that weren't even C-related. It's less than 0.2% of the entire world. We may and will have worse health outcomes now and for decades to come. And lockdowns were even worse here in Canada, so imagine the children here. Okay, let's go watch it.
Agencies that knew that are the agencies that shut down the schools for 2 years. Who does that? Who takes away the support system for these children? Who takes them away and shuts it down? And by the way, when they shut it down, they stopped the mandated reporters from being able to see children that were being abused and sexually molested, and in fact sent them home and abandoned them to their abusers with no way to watch, and referrals dropped 50 to 60%. So
there was also a pandemic going on. They were trying to save
kids' lives. Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this. So it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but, well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because we kept them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Are you saying no school children died of COVID?
I'm saying it was the safest group. They were the less vulnerable group, and they suffered and will suffer more from the mismanagement of COVID than they will from the exposure to COVID. And that's not an opinion. Agencies that knew that.
Bam.
So, there was also a pandemic going on. They were trying to save
kids' lives. Remember, we know a lot of folks who died during this. So it wasn't, people weren't laying around eating bond, but...
All right, Hillary, get off the stage. Cancel The View. You guys should be criminal charges laid for your propaganda. ruining and injuring, and essentially you have been part of the genocide.
Well, you know what? We're lucky. Maybe we're lucky they didn't, because
now she's like, well, you know, how many kids actually had an issue with the C? And she's like, well, we're lucky. We're lucky maybe none died. It's because of all the mandates. I just hate this Hillary bitch.
Them out of the places that they could be sick, because no one wanted to believe we had an issue.
Shame on this warmongering bitch. Shame on you, you. Okay, I apologize for my language, everybody. I mean, we're all biased. I'm biased against people that hurt other people, people that perform or enact or enable genocide. I am against war, warmongers, etc. Anyways, let's keep going on the comments. 68 Monster says, View is the most ignorant show on TV. Next from a Karen cousin. Kudos to Phil. Surprising for an Oprah guy. The View women, though, they'll keep a tight clench on these lies until the end. They need to rot. Next from Coach. That was very well articulated. 100% truth. Watch the end. I actually agree with Dr. Phil. Mad respect for Dr. Phil. Looks like Dr. Phil got the red pill. The View like to dump for the cabal, but the cabal hates them. Speaking truth. James, yeah, and you're 2 years too late. What bravery to speak out after the damage has already been done become undeniably obvious. I definitely would have to go look back to whether I could agree with this or not, and what is Dr. Phil's track record over the last 3 years. I would assume that he was complicit. But at least he's speaking out now, and he should apologize for what he might have done earlier. Next, from Canadian, pissed off. I'm surprised he's not a sellout. From Deborah, good for Dr. Phil telling the truth. From Lisa, this show is terrible. Very biased opinions. Phil is right. Next, Whoopi needs to zip it. Whoopi.
Danica, Goldberg spent her early years in a Manhattan housing project. She began performing at age 8 with a children's theater group and later, as a young adult, went on to perform in the choruses of Broadway shows.
So there's Whoopi. Let's continue on. The way he glares at Whoopi says it all. Every woman on that show talks but never thinks. Wow, Dr. Phil finally speaks out. But it was stated it didn't save any kids' lives, and everything they did made it worse for the kids, including the breathing barriers. So why argue? Just say it was a massive mistake. Either they're paid to lie or they're incompetent. F anyone who pushes this madness. Everybody knew it was lies and bullshit. I can't stand them. Dr. Phil became famous because of Oprah. Dug into her yet? Her closest friend was John of God. Dig into him and find out what he did to women and receive a 100-year prison sentence. You'd be bamboozled if you think Dr. Phil is good. There's some interesting allegation against Dr. Phil. Wow, Whoopi always talks out of her ass. Why is she there? The Dr. Phil, the newest controlled opportunist on the market. Yeah, see, that could be it, guys. All right, we're going to leave it at that.